All right, so welcome everybody to December 16th, 2020's Finance and Facilities Subcommittee meeting. We are meeting via Zoom this evening, as you can see us all in our little Brady Bunch boxes. And we're hoping that one of our participants is finding for us the official statement that says we can, in fact, meet remotely due to COVID. We like to try to read that statement before our meetings start. We're going to hold on for like maybe 10 more seconds. And if we don't have that statement, you'll all just have to trust me. Maybe I'll splice it into the BevCam video tomorrow. But basically, due to COVID, we can, the governor has said that we can meet remotely.
I have it. Mrs. Visnick, I have it if you would like me to read it.
I would love for you to do that, Councilor Flowers, and thank you.
Okay, I will try to make the correct changes as I go to make it for this committee. So, pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12th, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the Open Meeting Law, General Law 30A, Section 18, and the Governor's March 15th, 2020 order imposing strict limitation on the number of people that may gather in one place, this meeting of the Finance and Facilities Subcommittee of the Beverly School Committee will be conducted via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. Specific information and the general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and or parties with a right and or requirement to attend this meeting can be found on the City of Beverly's website. For this meeting, members of the public who wish to watch or listen may do so in the following manner: tuning into the BevCam channel on TV, or watching BevCam's YouTube channel, and clicking into BevCam government streams. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure the public can adequately access proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event that we are unable to do so despite best efforts, Lorinda, did you mean to mute me? Now you're muted, Mrs. Visnick.
I said I meant to mute someone else who was making noise. I apologize.
I was like, I guess she wanted me to be done with that.
Oh, it is so 2020. It is so 2020.
I think it was pretty much the end. It just said, if we are unable to allow access despite our best efforts, the video transcript will be posted on the City of Beverly's website, or an audio or video recording will be made available after the meeting, and that participants should be aware that video footage allowed during the meeting can be viewed and seen by others.
Fantastic, and I greatly thank you for doing that for me. Oh,
anytime.
You usually get to be so quiet on these meetings. I put you right in the forefront this evening.
I know I was not prepared, but thank you.
All right, so I'm gonna pull the agenda onto my screen and do a share screen. And hold on a second. This is our agenda. We'll get the participant list out of here. Okay, so the first thing on our agenda is approval of the meeting minutes from our last meeting, which was on November 24th. I would love a motion to approve those meeting minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you, Mrs. Robinson. Do I have a second?
Second.
Was that Mr. Manzo?
Yes, it was.
On his new iPad. Thank you, Mr. Manzo. Does anybody have any comments or corrections on the meeting minutes?
I just have a quick one.
Sure, please.
And mostly just for Jenna, Jean Sherburn's last name is spelled Sherburnne, and it's spelled in a variety of ways in the minutes. So just wherever her name shows up, just a correcting spelling of her name.
Very nice. Mr. Manzo, I'm just going to throw it out there. Usually you catch those things. So maybe it's the new iPad.
It's the new iPad. I couldn't open the file. No, I do actually have two things though.
Okay, please.
One's at the bottom of page 4. There's a question mark and a set of parentheses after EPA. So this is near the bottom of page 4, just above the Director of Finance and Operations update. And so right there, CDC and EPA question mark. So I don't know what the question mark means.
All right, so
I guess
how about we do have Mr. Collins on the line. And so Mr. Collins, this part of the meeting minutes, we're talking about the maintenance guys going in to clean a room after there's been a confirmed case. And I don't know if you can see the screen here, but it says that all the trash cans have liners and bags in them. And this is in line with the recommendations we have seen from the CDC and the EPA. And there's a question mark there. I'm letting Dr. Flaherty into the meeting, by the way. There's a question mark there. Maybe that we were not sure if those are the two organizations. Are those, in fact, organizations from which we would get such recommendations?
Yeah, that seems reasonable. So I think it'd be okay to delete the question mark.
Okay, great. So Jenna, you're on with us now, right?
Yes.
Okay, so if you could, on that page 4, remove that question mark in the parentheses. Mr. Manzo, what's your next edit?
So scrolling down to page 5, I'm looking for it. So under number 4, fiscal year 21 budget review, under revenues, it says we've already used $170. And wouldn't it be great if it were only $170?
Oh, that is fantastic. All right, so Jean, I'm guessing this one's going to have to be for you. How much have we used, which we anticipated?
I think it's 170,000.
Second column.
So we're talking about, so I have to look at the
The revenue sheet, the second column, you said we have to use money from the carryover.
Yeah, so it should be 170,000 because we're talking about
Building rentals.
building rentals. So so I'm going to say that we should have been 170,000. I mean, it's 170,000 that we carried over from the previous year.
Okay, so Jenna, can you please make that correction? I muted Jenna, so maybe she can't unmute. All right, we'll make sure that change is made. Mr. Manzo, do you have any more? Did you say 2? 2, fantastic. Okay, so there's a motion on the table to approve the meeting minutes. May we friendly amend that motion to approve the meeting minutes with the suggested edits that we've covered here? Ms. Robinson, yes?
Yes.
All right. So we will go in, we'll try to go in alphabetical order. We have to vote by roll call when we're remote. So how about, I'm just going to go not in alphabetical order. I'm going to go on the participant list. Okay. Mrs. Robinson.
Yes.
Mr. Manzo.
Yes.
Ms. Ducharme.
Yes. Thank you for saying it. Good job.
I've been practicing.
I know. Tell.
Mr. Silva. Mr. Silva, you're on mute and I can't see your picture if you're giving me a thumbs up.
Yes.
Thank you. And myself, yes. Okay, I believe if you're a voting member and I didn't call on you, will you please unmute and jump up and down right now? I think I got everybody. I think Jenna, for the record, I should have said who all is here. And so currently in this meeting, we have Mrs. Robinson from the school committee, Jean Sherburne from our finance department, BevCam, thank you very much. Dr. Flaherty, our assistant superintendent of schools, from the public, Jeffrey Silva, Lindsay Ducharme, and Mr. Manzo. We have Jenna, your own self. From our city council, we have both of our representatives, Councilor Julie Flowers and Councilor Todd Rotundo. And also in the meeting, we are blessed to have Dr. Chirocek. We're missing from the school committee, Kim Coelho. And I don't think, and Mr. Collins is on the call. So that brings us to our next item on our agenda, which is the B&G report. And we have Mr. Collins here to answer any questions that anybody might have on the B&G report. And then Mr. Collins is going to make a little statement relative to Tim Howland. So let's start with the B&G report. My FNFers, does anybody have any questions or comments, concerns about the B&G report that was in your packet that you wish to pose to Mr. Collins? I see no hands on the participant, no waving heads in my video channels. Okay, Mr. Collins, I would like it if you would unmute and recognize the fact that our wonderful head of B&G in the schools, Mr. Tim Howland, is about to retire.
Yeah, that's right. A couple of remarkable things that since we consolidated in 2010, Tim has been the only director of the public schools division. He was hired in January of 2011, and this January, in a couple of weeks, it'll be 10 full years for him. And I know he's very much looking forward to retiring and not dodging the pandemic on a daily basis and spending more time on his boat and things like that. Tim's been just a fantastic asset for my department, the schools, and the city at large. He is somebody who I believe, you know, I know that most of us, you know, we go home, we think about the job, we come, you know, we stay home, we're thinking about the job while we're sitting on the couch, and you wake up in the morning, it's the first thing you think about. That's not the case for everybody in the world. And I know Tim is very much one of those people that where even when he's not here, he's thinking about what needs to be done. I know I'm very fortunate to have somebody that took the job as seriously as we all do, and understood the core principles of it that, you know, from the facilities side, we're here to make sure that the school is open every day, to make sure that the principals don't have to think about the building. They don't have to worry that the building's warm or dry or whatever the case may be. It's just all those little things that, as a former boss of mine said, our job is kind of to be the bus driver. Nobody knows who the bus driver is until the bus is not on time. So our job is to make sure the bus is never late. And Tim was awesome at that. He put his heart and soul into this job for the last 10 years. And I'm not sure, it's not easy to express how difficult the job really is. And, you know, there's a lot of people to manage, a lot of personalities to manage, and, you know, 8 buildings that are always trying to do something bad to you. And, you know, he was here most mornings well before 5. He's a very early riser, but that allowed him to get into the district, and as a result, it's pretty remarkable. If you think in the 10 years he's been here, we've never had to close school because we didn't have heat or because there was some major problem with the building. And that's really remarkable. That's quite an achievement, and I'm extremely grateful for that. We've had odd things that we couldn't control, where we've moved the kids out of a building here or there. In retrospect, it turned out to not be necessary, more of a precaution, but really because, although we've never had to close school for a facility related issue like that, I can tell you there was a lot of close calls that Tim was able to catch with the custodians early in the morning and make changes and get things working and get things running before the staff came to work and before the students arrived in the school. So I'm not saying it wasn't close a lot of times, but you know, that's the benefit of having somebody like Tim who took the job as seriously as he did, and you know, it was really a profession for him. So I just want to take a moment and just applaud his 10 years of service and dedication to the school district. I'll miss him. He's a He's a fun personality, but I'm thrilled for him and his family. I know his family means so much to him. He's very much a family man first. That was one of the first things I remember thinking about him is, here's a guy who's raised 5 kids. And I figured if he could survive that, he could survive whatever we threw at him. I'm the youngest of 5, so I kind of know what that's like. I know how crazy that can be. His family means everything to him. And he's now going to be able to go home and spend a lot more time with them. I know his second favorite thing next to his family is his boat. And, I'm really grateful that he's going to get some time up on Winnipesaukee next summer. And I can't say enough about the relationship I've had with him. It's a true professional and truly dedicated to the cause of making sure that the bus is always on time. So thank you, Tim, and I wish him all the best.
So I will open it up if any of the other committee members. I have a little itty bitty story I'd love to tell about Mr. Howland before we go to the next item on our agenda, but I will call on myself last. So if anybody else wants to chime in, jump on the Tim loving bandwagon, please raise your hand. I can see all of you on my screen right now. All right, Mr. Manzo.
I just want to second everything that Mike said about Tim. I was there when Tim showed up, and it was a daunting job, a new job, something that hasn't been done before, and he was there every day for us, and so I think the district's really going to miss him, and I'm going to miss him on my rare visits to the central office. Last time I was there, I saw Tim, and he had the same smile and the same skip in his step, on year 10 than he had on his first day of the job. So, so good for him, and I wish him luck in his retirement.
Cool, thank you. All right, anybody else? Yes, Dr. Trocek.
I mean, I echo again also what Mike said, but I also, I think I have a unique perspective. I sat in the interviews with Mike when we hired Tim 10 years ago, and in many different roles. So as a principal, as assistant superintendent, and now as superintendent. And, the truth is the buildings are running really well. And Tim's a really big part of how that happens and how that goes. And they're not the same buildings. We've looked at the progress and the changes that we've made in all of our facilities and everything that we've done over the last 10 years. So he, has kind of grown into everything that we asked and was able to do that. So we're very grateful for his service, and I too wish him well. And I am kind of a little jealous of spending summers on a boat in Winnipesaukee. So, there you go. But, we thank him for everything that he's done for our school. So I appreciate that.
Cool. Anybody else? All right, so I'll tell my little story. Well before I earned this seat, I volunteered I volunteered as a basketball coach, and a big part of our program was to have our children perform community service. And our target of our community service, or the benefactors, I guess, the beneficiaries were often the schools. And so, for instance, if it was, late August and hot, and the school's getting ready to open, we would go to Mr. Howland and say, hey, if you can have wood chips delivered in the back for the playground and mulch delivered in the front, then I can put a team or two of, basketball players or soccer players or some kind of athletes in front of your school, and they will pull weeds, and they'll rake, and they'll distribute the mulch, and they'll even out the wood chips on the playground. And so not only will the playground be safe for the children to return, but the front of the school will be nice. And, everybody likes to come back to a nice looking school. And it was a little extra challenge for Mr. Howland to juggle that volunteer crew, right, and the schedule of the volunteers. But we always managed to get it done, and it was a lovely thing, both for the schools, for people to come back on campus and say, oh, look, new mulch, right? I mean, it just spruces it up. It's just nice to come back to a school that way. But the trust that was involved when I would say to him, okay, I have a team. What school do you want done? Do you want, the wood chips in the back, the mulch in the front? Do you want both? Can you get the supplies? And it was always fantastic. And the supplies were always delivered on time, and we always had a couple good laughs about it, because inevitably something went wrong. Like one time we got like 10 times too much mulch delivered, and then it was like this big scramble to get the mulch out of that school's parking lot so the cars could come in on the first day of school. So it was lovely dealing with him in that capacity before I came to this capacity. And I love his sense of humor, and have just always really enjoyed working with him. And so it was fantastic for me in that other role to be able to give the children an opportunity to do community service. It was a huge part of our program. And it continues to be a huge part of the program. And that whole pay it forward, someone's volunteering to coach you, you learn to volunteer and do something good as well. And our community is fantastic that way. And so the fact that he helped us do that is my favorite part of my interactions with him. And I will always remember that, and I will appreciate that tremendously. And Mr. Holland, I too, like Dr. Frochek said, I'm a little more than jealous, but I wish you well, and I appreciate everything you've done for our schools. So thank you. Okay, I'm going to share my screen. We're going to go back to the agenda. All right, so Mr. Collins, thank you very much, and we appreciate the fact that you probably have a busy evening in front of you, and so if you want to take off to the Great White North, pun intended, please feel free to do so. All right, next, we have our update. Jean, do you want me to share the PowerPoint that you sent today?
Yes, please.
Oh, that means I have to find it. Hold, please. It came in a separate email from all of the other ones, right?
Yes, it came this afternoon.
Oh, boy. Okay.
It was on the same link, though.
Oh, it's at the bottom. Okay, I got it. Here we go. Thank you. That was very helpful.
Thank
We're
you.
going to have to ignore my home phone. I don't know how to stop that ringer. Why do I even have a home phone anymore, right? That is a very good question. Okay, so this is the form I have. I have PDF. I don't have I can't go into, here you go.
That's fine. The first thing I want to do is, so we don't have that too much to discuss tonight, other than numbers and finances. But I just wanted to wish everybody a happy holiday and wish 2020 would go away. So what I'm going to be talking about tonight is some additional CVRF funding, which is coming to the school nutrition program. And then I'm going to go right into our financial reports. So we did receive notification today, this week, that the Department of Education has issued CVRF funding for the school's meals programs. And it's for the period of March 1st, 2020 through December 30th, 2020. So we're just getting it, and it's going to be spent quickly. The Beverly Food Service will receive $17,167.72. Then we're going to be, I've met with Christina Leal, and we've discussed, what we could be using this for, and that what we would need it for. So therefore, we've looked at the unemployment costs that we've discussed at the last meetings, and anybody that worked for the food service department that received any kind of unemployment costs, we're going to move those expenses over to the CVRF grant that we're receiving. And the other thing we plan to use for is the adult feeding that we provided in the spring to the YMCA. So when we had additional meals available at the end of our remote meals pickup, we were able to feed the adults in the YMCA. So therefore, that funding would stay right in the food service revolving account, because that's where we expended for the cost for the meals and for the providing the service, food service salaries. And then the amount that we're putting towards foods for the unemployment, I'll make a transfer from our unemployment line over to the nutrition line. And I did want to talk a little bit more about unemployment later on when we talk expenses.
Yeah, Jean, I'll have a note to correct my inaccuracy at the last meeting.
Yeah, and I've heard other people thinking that same thing, so I think it's, we need to clarify that. And the next thing I have is the financial reports, the review of the revenues, expenses. We do have 2 new grants, and the gifts to schools, we do have something. So that's all I have. I don't have any more to report other differently than that. So if we can go to the revenues first.
Revenues. Hold, please. Your call is important to us. It will be answered in the order in which it was received. Revenue report. Here it comes.
So this is the monthly revenue report that we receive, and you'll see that the city appropriation is the $62,417,942 as it stands currently. Our funding sources that are coming in are, there has not been any significant changes. We would receive a school choice number usually in mid-December if there's going to be any change. We have not received that as of yet. Circuit breaker is coming in. We did have to allocate $6,160 for the carryover from what we budgeted. We budgeted $2,003,956. And what we're going to be receiving in this year is actually $1,997,796. Therefore, we will use part of the revolving carryover. The special education tuition that we have, we're anticipating more funding coming in because we have more students that are utilizing our program than we originally budgeted for. And on the reverse side is the non-residential students. Those are the students that usually come for 1 year to the Beverly High School. We were not getting any students in this year, so therefore we had to utilize the revolving that I carried over from the previous year of $88,000. And then the transportation revolving, we're received in 9,950. So we do have some fees that are coming in. Obviously nothing like we anticipated of the 218,000 because we're not transporting students that are fee-based. The building rental, this is something that we're watching and looking at. We have received in $36,998. I'm looking to hopefully have that come in at $150,000 for the year. I do believe that that's probably going to be a little short based on that there's, the only people that are renting is the YMCA and their numbers are reduced. So therefore, our numbers that are in our RFP show a reduced rate based on the number of students. That's something that Dr. Schrochek and myself will be looking at probably in January to forecast out the remainder of the year. The preschool revolving, that actually is coming in $21,462 higher than what we anticipated at the beginning of the school year. That fluctuates. Mostly what we'll see at this time is if there's additional students coming in because screening goes on throughout the year. Kindergarten revolving, as you know, we reduced the kindergarten, so we do not have a kindergarten fee. We anticipate to use $200,000, and I had that in the revolving carryover for that specific purpose. The user fees for the athletics, $48,000. So this year we have different seasons. So therefore, that is again another thing that I will be meeting with Mr. Keefe in, I would say, January to discuss, how did the winter or the fall and whatever we're calling these seasons come out to play. So therefore, right now, I am anticipating that it's not, we're not going to be taking in as much money in the previous year, but I'd rather have him be able to report, the justification on that. And then the elementary strings program, that is, we're not having the elementary program after school. It's more in the school. So therefore, we had budgeted $33,415, and I'm going to need to make sure that we have funds in the revolving account to cover the salary offset that we have if I do not have the funding within the budget, which I think I will. So that is what I have for revenues, if there's any questions.
I'm looking for hands. Miss Robinson, I cannot see you on the video screen when I'm sharing, but you guys can raise your hand in the participant panel, or you can just unmute. There's a small enough number of us I think we can manage.
Okay, I just unmuted. I just had a quick question about the athletic fees. Just curious if they are, I know you can't really tell, but if they would be close to last year in terms of number of participants for sports, and if we're cutting kids in sports that are normally, that they don't cut just to make numbers smaller. I was just curious about that.
So I'm going to suggest that we would have Mr. Keefe come to one of our meetings, like in January or February, to discuss the whole athletics. I do not know that.
Yeah.
I really am the only one that I watch the fees coming in and the expenses going out, making sure that we have enough. And I did notice that the fees coming in this past season were lower than the cost. So that has put me on a worry. And I, matter of fact, talked to Mr. Keefe this week saying, we need to set up something that you need to be able to project for me. So the one thing I do not want to see is on June 15th, somebody say, hey, Jean, we're going to be short. So as you know, I watch the revolving accounts like a hawk,
Right.
know these things. So I do say to him, I see that, but maybe it's next season. So what I don't really know is that always is which sports bring in more than their expenses to offset others and stuff. And I don't know what participation is. I'm not sure if Dr. Shrotek has heard anything on her corner of the world, but in my corner, as far as money, I know that this is one of my concerns I have to watch.
Well,
Thank you.
I think one of the things that we have to keep our eye, the uncertainties are that some sports are shifted to different seasons. So football, as an example, one that probably typically brings in a high number of the fees, isn't being played until the fall one season, which doesn't start until March. So some of the questions aren't going to be answered until we get there. And if in March we have a very robust football season going on with, full squad of players, then, we won't know the answers until those seasons run. So we've had a number of seasons that were shifted around. And I think Dan will have, Mr. Keefe will have a little bit more information to share with us in terms of participation. So we'll just have to kind of wait and see how that goes.
And
Thank you very much.
And I am remembering now that we had a couple sports that ran this year that were more intramurals than I think it was
At the middle school.
Hockey and something else. So yes, those are the types of things. So we should have him come to a meeting to discuss further.
Yes, Mr. Manzel?
Gina, I noticed in the expenditure report, there's some areas that still have money. And so, for example, the athletic transportation line seems to be fully intact. And that's not really surprising given that we're not really transporting athletes. And so maybe there's some other areas that are in the athletics area that can help, balance some of your budgets.
Yes. Yep. Those are the types of things that we need to discuss with, Mr. Keefe to see what is his expenses going to be. And like you said, I may be shifting from the transportation athletics to the regular athletics that covers for the officials and things like that, coaches. Thank
Good,
you.
thank you.
Right. So I'll just, I'll say, Miss Robinson, I have a son who plays soccer. And so there were, a freshman, a JV, and a varsity soccer team for both boys and girls. And so in that particular sport that was allowed to be played, I think there were approximately the same, it looked like on any given day at Beverly High, there are approximately the same number of students. However, the season that we're about to come up on is usually has indoor track, and like that normally has, I don't know, maybe upwards of 100 student athletes who participate in between, all the different events, and that sport is not being allowed to happen. So yes,
It's shifted to fall one. It's still going to so well, we hope, but it is the plan is that it will run in fall one alongside football, cheering, and I don't remember volleyball, I think is another one that was shifted into fall one. So, and then wrestling, I think, is shifted all the way to spring. So I'm not really sure. Like there's a lot of shifting around of sports so that we can get them in, and in the end, it's going to see how it all plays out. So.
Right. And it'll be interesting. It'll be very interesting too, because for instance, I know a lot of the football kids would come off of football and then run indoor track, right? And especially the sprints.
Right.
And so if they're both being run now in fall too, then, there will be lower track participation because if in fact they're running simultaneously. So we'll have, we just have to
Unless
really
hockey and basketball decide to run track. So there are other I think it's a first time for our athletes that sports are running in different seasons, and some are going to overlap and some are going to be open that were never open before. So it'll be kind of interesting.
Okay. Ms. Sherburne, do you want the expenses next? Yes?
Yes, please.
The expenditure report.
Okay. So the first thing is that Lorinda and I both wanted to discuss something that was said at the committee of the whole meeting. So Lorinda, if you could go to page 33 of our report.
Okay, hold please.
Did you notice how nice that is like scanned so it's not upside down and sideways?
I did. I was worried that I hadn't rotated it.
I realized
33. Here we are.
Okay, so what we're going to be talking about is the last line on that page 33, the unemployment compensation. So one thing that I just wanted to clarify is that the city council vote the other day was to process that we could process $55,000 of last year's expenses using our current budget for FY21. So it had been stated that they gave us an additional $55,000 for unemployment. I've heard it in a few different avenues. And I just wanted to clarify that what this city council has approved is that the school department could spend FY21 funds on FY20 expenses in that amount. So I wanted to clarify that, and as you will see, by doing this, we have $427.10 available for the remainder of the year, and we have only paid through July. So therefore, we will have a problem, and we will need to find the funding within our budget at this time for the expenses, and each month has been coming in approximately, I don't have that in front of me right now, but I do know that October's bill for the school department was approximately $15,000. So if it's going to be coming in at the same rate, then it's, we're going to have to find more funding. So right now, that $85,008, I can't see it on the screen, $818.79 is just from the last year's expenses in the month of July. So that is when I tell you each month that I'm looking at things, that's where I'm looking. I am going to need to find the funding before January 14th for the month of August bill. And then the next month for the month of, so they've given us a little time to catch up because as I stated at the committee of the whole, and I know I stated last month, we didn't receive the March through July bills until August. So I just wanted to discuss that.
And Jean, can we, is it true that of that 55,000 that the city council voted we can spend out of this year's money to pay last year's unemployment claims, that we expect to be able to recoup a good portion of that 55,000?
So I have contested and protested. So I contest it first and then I protest when we get charged. So we have done that. I have not had any hearings up to this date for anything that I'm protesting or contesting. The only hearings that we've heard have been heard is for where employees have contested that they didn't get unemployment. So we've had 3 hearings so far. We have another one scheduled next week, but these are all hearings that employees filed probably in March through July. Obviously, I did not protest or contest any claims until after August because I did not know of them until then. The one good news is that I have noticed when I logged out onto the unemployment portal, the numbers are coming in much less, that we may have 3 or 4 or maybe 6 employees each time that they're coming up versus we were getting hit with like 40 employees, and those were the fraudulent ones. So the state is right on top of that, looking at that themselves. We have Christina DeCourcy, our substitute caller, on the portal each day and getting the information out to them immediately if it's what we would consider a fraudulent case.
Right. So
I do not know. I do not know that I will receive any money in this fiscal year for that, but that is something that once we hear some more information, I will obviously bring it forward to the committee. But right now, I know I'm contesting. I think it's $80,000, but I really don't know if I'll recoup it. My understanding is that they can't give it back to me until they collect it from the employees. And in some of them it is, I think it's fraudulent that they should have been able to collect, but the unemployment office could rule against me. The school department say that, yes, they do. So in other words, if somebody left our employee quit, they shouldn't be able to collect unemployment. But what I don't know is, did they go and get a job someplace else and get laid off, and then I am liable? So.
Okay, so when you said that, if some money gets to get reclaimed, what is the process? Does it go to the city and then the city has to vote to kind of transfer it back onto the school side, or does it come right back to you?
It would come in. I would assume that it's going to come in on a bill. So as I get credit. So this month that I just looked at was for the month of October. We received $942.
Okay.
So we'll see it that way. Now, I'm sure that we wouldn't see a magnitude of in other words, if my claim is for 15,000 is my actual expenditure, the claimable, and that we got a credit for 40,000, then, we shouldn't have to wait months to eat up that. I would assume that a check would come in. And I'll be working with Bryant and the city administration on this, that if it comes to something like that, we should be able to recoup it if we paid for it. But
okay, cool, thanks. Is there anything else you want to look at on this report, Jean, before I open it up to the FNFers?
I would open it up to the FNFers. We are still in negotiations, so there is some money still available in the reserve for negotiations, and it's an OT number, but I don't know the number off the top of my head. So that is one thing that we do have. There is some funding there. We are charging things directly to the circuit breaker revolving account. Reserve for negotiations is on page 31. At the bottom, 405,000. So as you know, we are still in negotiations with Unit A, Unit B, Unit C, which is our teachers, administration, and paraprofessionals. And we're also all of our AFSCME groups. The only one that we are not negotiating this year, which is actually negotiated by the city, is the AFSCME custodial. But all the others are still in negotiations. So that amount will be definitely eaten up. But I can't do anything about it until we finish negotiations.
Okay, Mr. Manzo, I saw you thinking about raising your hand.
I just had I just want to call back to the money that you got, that 17,000 from the CVRF funds that
Yes.
you said could be used for unemployment.
Mm-hmm.
Does it necessarily have to be tied to someone who worked in food services?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, because the money that we're receiving is for the food service program. So they gave us many different scenarios that we could use it for. And what I found was this is the cleanest way, because remember, you have to spend it before December 30th, which is like 12 days away, 15 days away, 20. So therefore, so that was the cleanest way. Plus it actually helps us with the unemployment. So where I only have $481, I think the unemployment, I think it was 9,000, let's say 10,000, then I'd have 10,000. So I could probably pay part of August without, worrying about where I'm going to find the funding.
And so you didn't have any problem spending that money on unemployment claims from food service people?
Right, yes. So we did have food service people that collected during the summer. And this year, because we're not in full every day, all the schools, we don't have the need for as many substitutes. So therefore we had 3 or 4 substitutes for the cafeteria that are now legally allowed to collect unemployment because there's no work available.
I see. Good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, any other questions on the expenses? I don't see any hands in the participants panel, nor in the 5 faces that I can see on my little video screen.
Okay,
So-
if anybody does have any questions, they can always email me and I can answer them directly if they see something later on. I have no transfers to
No
approve.
transfers this week. Thank you. Grants and gifts to schools. One
So
of my
grants-
favorite. Which one you want first, Ms. Sherburne?
Let's do the grants first.
Okay. Oh, Excel. We get to open Excel. This is tricking me.
Sorry, I didn't realize I sent it that way, but.
That's okay.
So the first grant I have is the Department of Education DESE grant number 423. And that is a COVID grant, school reopening. Dr. Flaherty is online if we have any specific questions on it, but it's for $44,413.
Okay, so to start our discussions, I would love a motion to accept that grant.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Manzo. In a second,
Second,
was that Mrs.
me,
Robinson?
Mrs. Robinson, yeah.
Thank you. It's so hard when I can't see all of your faces. All right, so it's now open for discussion. Does anybody have any questions about this grant for Dr. Flaherty is online? Or Dr. Flaherty, do you want to unmute and say anything? You could get on camera,
Yep.
be famous.
This is a grant that came in November and we can use through the end of the school year. It's for to bring high quality virtual education to students in grades 6 through 12. And it's COVID related with all the remote learning that's happening. We used the bulk of the money for our seats for Grad Point and virtual high school seats for our students at the high school for advanced placement classes and for other electives that were not available to run with Beverly staff. We use the Beverly staff to focus on core classes, and we wanted to be able to provide foreign language and a wide array of high-level electives. And so the VHS seats are being used for that. And it will also be used to pay 1 or 2 sixths, which is for our teachers that are teaching a sixth in order to teach in the Remote Learning Academy along with their full teaching schedule. So it's an additional class for them.
Thank you, Dorothy. Clarity.
Fantastic, thank you. All right, so there's a motion on the floor. Yes, Mr. Manzo?
I just wanted to clarify, this is different than the 17,000 that was nutrition
Yes, yes,
CVRF money? Okay.
yes. That one is coming in December, and it's actually not coming in as a grant. So they're just
Okay.
sending the money in with our payment.
The duffel bag, yeah. Good. Thank you.
Maybe in a Santa suit. Okay, so Dot, I love your tree, by the way. Okay, so there's a motion on the floor. I'm going to go through our participant list. And this time, Mr. Manzo, you're on the top.
Okay, yes.
Mr. Silva,
Yes.
Ms. Ducharme,
Yes, please.
Mr. Robinson,
Yes.
and myself, yes. Because who would ever say no to free money? I believe that's all of us.
The next grant that I have to for the committee to approve is the Department of Public Health grant, and that's the Comprehensive School Health Services, CSHS grant. This is the second year of a 5-year grant that comes in through Ms. June Cases, and it's for $5,000, and it covers the cost for anything health related, PPE, professional development to cover for substitutes, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay, I would love to hear a motion to accept this $5,000 grant.
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Ducharme.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Robinson. Are there any questions about?
I have a question.
Yep, go please.
Ms. Sherborne, did you say this is the second of a 3-year grant?
5-year.
5-year.
Oh, 5 year. Oh, okay. But then you said it was for PPE. So we got a 5-year grant after COVID started and we get to use it.
So no, what the grant is a 5-year grant that we receive $5,000 each year, but we can use it for any health services. So what June's plan is to use it for PPE for the nurses.
That makes sense.
Yes. Our immediate need this year.
Makes perfect sense. Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, there's a motion on the floor. We'll go around based on the participant list. This time, this is like playing bingo, okay? Mr. Silva, you're first on the list this time.
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Ducharme,
Yes.
Ms. Robinson,
Yes.
Mr. Manzo,
Yes.
and myself, yes. So that passes. I believe there's 6 of us this evening. Maybe I'm counting incorrectly. Okay, so we're done with the grants, and now we're going to gifts to schools. I'm trying, Jean.
That's okay.
Oh, here it comes.
So the gifts to schools that came in for the month of November, and we're looking for approval is $907.02. Part of it is going to the Beverly Middle School and the Beverly Preschool and the district-wide for whenever they sell a t-shirt or a sweatshirt in a store that says Beverly, they give us money. So that big $70 is for that, just to wear, for people to wear our name on their sweatshirts.
Okay, so let's start before we go into discussion or questions. I need a motion to accept this $907.02.
I'll make a motion to accept.
Second.
Fantastic, Mr. Robinson. A second by Mr. Manzo. Thank you. Questions, comments, discussion? Okay, I guess I don't see any hands. My question is maybe who is this particular organization? Jean, do you have any information about the Masonic Angel Fund?
I do not personally have that. This information comes in a form of a check to Roberta Aiken in the business office, and then she, or it comes in through the middle school to us. But it does say that they're looking for this to be used towards computer accessories.
Okay, I was just curious, right? Who our funding source is, just like you know that this whopping $70.45 comes from those sales of our Beverly gear at Shaw's and Stop and Shop.
Yes.
Interesting. All right.
We
Again,
can find out more information and let you know, but that's, I don't know personally.
yeah, I was just curious. My motto is, when would we ever say no to free money? So given
right.
that, motion on the floor, we're going to name call bingo here. Mr. Manzo, you're first on the list.
Yes.
Ms. Ducharme,
Yes.
Ms. Robinson,
Yes.
Mr. Silva,
Yes.
and myself. Yes. Did I get everybody? Your names move when you unmute and start to talk. Okay, so that passes. Awesome. Again, unanimously. And I think we're at the end of our agenda items.
Yes. And
Does anybody?
we're on schedule for our closure time of when we had committee of the whole coming on after us, but.
All right, so I saw somebody else has a tree in their background. Oh, Miss Robinson, it's you. All right, so look, I have a new mask. Wait, well, this is hard. All right, a light up mask for the
It's
holidays.
a tree.
Oh,
That's festive, Lorinda.
I don't have a tree, right? So
No, it's okay.
I need
so
to
our
know,
lights can come
Linda.
on and off. And I want to thank all of you, especially the members of the public. I say this, I try to say it every meeting. It's incredible that you guys donate your time to the schools, and I really appreciate it. And so I hope you're all staying safe and you're masking up. And I also like to really jump up and down and say if anybody needs a mask.
I need one of those Christmas tree masks, Lorinda.
You do?
Yeah.
I do.
As do I.
I'll see what I can do. They're really quite time consuming, but I just want everybody to stay safe, and I appreciate everything that I should have said this to Mr. Collins while he was on the call, that we're doing to mitigate the risk and keep transmissions out of our schools. And I know some of us on this call have been affected or have had close calls, and again, I hope that we can find some joy in the holiday season, and we're about to get to a break. And so I hope, I thank you all for your service, and I hope you all find some time to relax and rest. And like I said, find some joy in the season. Okay. And if anybody needs a mask, hit me up.
Thank you.
Okay.
Happy holidays,
All
everybody.
right. Good night. Thank you,
Bye. Happy
BevCam.
holiday, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Stay safe.
Thank you.
Bye.
Hey, bye-bye.